The moment Amara La Negra finally snapped, the world was left in absolute shock. Fans who had adored her for years watched in disbelief as she dropped a bombshell on love and hip-hop, exposing lies, betrayal, and a level of deceit no one saw coming. "I'm done with the lies," she declared, her voice filled with raw emotion as she turned the spotlight on one of the most trusted stars of the show. For months, Amara had kept quiet, choosing to play along with the drama swirling around her. But no more. In a shocking outburst that stunned her co-stars and left fans gasping, Amara laid it all out. Who was the real mastermind behind the lies? What dark secrets was she hiding? And why was she finally speaking out now? The truth came crashing down as Amara's revelations hit harder than anyone expected. Relationships, alliances, and loyalties were all tested in the wake of this explosive moment. Was Amara really done with the lies, or was this just the beginning of a new chapter of drama? Stay tuned, because what happens next will leave you speechless. This is the real story behind Amara La Negra's shocking revelation, and you won't believe what happens next. The morning after Amara La Negra's explosive confession, the world of love and hip-hop was still reeling. Fans who had been following her for years, watching her rise from an underdog to a reality TV icon, were in disbelief. They had never imagined that the vibrant, outspoken woman they had adored for so long would become the center of such drama. But here she was, making waves, causing a stir, and leaving no stone unturned in the process. Her words echoed in the air long after the cameras stopped rolling. "I'm done with the lies." The drama had been building for months, simmering beneath the surface. The viewers, so used to the constant chaos that followed the stars of love and hip-hop, were shocked to see Amara, usually the voice of reason in the madness, take a stand. This wasn't just another argument, another petty feud between cast members. This was a declaration, a turning point. Amara's closest friends, the ones who had been her support system since the beginning, were shocked by the intensity of her outburst. The show had always been about the big moments, the fights, the betrayals, the over-the-top confrontations. But this felt different. This felt like something real, something personal. Sitting in her dressing room, Amara reflected on the events that had led to this moment. She had always been the one to stay calm, to keep her head above the water when the storm raged around her. But the lies had piled up too high. The betrayals had hit too close to home. And now, it was time for her to set the record straight. The lies she was referring to weren't just about her relationship with the people around her, though. They went deeper, much deeper. Amara had been one of the few cast members to be open about the challenges she faced as a dark-skinned Afro-Latina woman in an industry that had long struggled with racial and color biases. She had used her platform to speak about the importance of embracing one's culture, one's roots. But behind the cameras, there were whispers about how she was being manipulated by people she trusted, people who pretended to be her allies but had their own hidden agendas. One of the people Amara had once considered a close friend was a fellow cast member, someone who had played a key role in her journey on the show. This person, who had been there when Amara needed a shoulder to lean on, was now one of the biggest sources of her frustration. Amara had always known something wasn't right. There were small inconsistencies, little things she had brushed aside. But now, the truth was undeniable. The lies had gone too far. Amara's frustration wasn't just about betrayal. It was about the way she had been treated. She had been the voice of reason, the one to keep the peace. But no one had respected her boundaries. No one had appreciated the sacrifices she had made to maintain the fragile balance in their chaotic world. And the more she thought about it, the more she realized how much she had been taken for granted. As Amara sat quietly in her dressing room, she couldn't help but reflect on the years of being on Love and Hip Hop. The show had given her a platform to speak her truth, but it had also forced her to play a role she no longer felt comfortable with. At first, it had been a way to gain exposure, to show the world that she was more than just a reality star. She wanted to be seen as an artist, a woman of substance. But over time, she began to realize that the fame came with a cost. The drama, the feuds, the endless chaos. It had all become too much. And the worst part was, it wasn't just the public who saw her as a source of drama. It was the people she trusted the most. She thought about her past relationships, both romantic and platonic, and the lies that had been woven into them. There were moments when she had thought she could trust certain people, only to find out later that they had been playing a game of their own. The worst betrayal, however, came from someone who had been by her side since the beginning. Someone who had promised to support her no matter what. But as Amara dug deeper into the web of lies, she realized just how deeply this person had been involved in keeping secrets from her. The turning point came one night, when Amara found herself in a heated argument with this person. The truth was finally spilling out, and for the first time in a long while, Amara wasn't backing down. She wasn't going to let this person continue to manipulate her. She wasn't going to let them pretend to be her friend when they had done nothing but deceive her. "I can't believe you've been lying to me all this time," Amara had said, her voice shaking with emotion. "You told me you had my back, but you were only looking out for yourself." Her friend, caught off guard by the intensity of Amara's outburst, tried to defend themselves. "It wasn't like that, Amara. You don't understand. I did what I had to do." "No," Amara interrupted, her voice rising. "You did what was best for you, and I was just a pawn in your game. Well, I'm done. I'm done being used. I'm done with the lies." The confrontation had been long overdue, and as the words left Amara's mouth, she felt a sense of relief wash over her. For so long, she'd been afraid of losing the relationships that meant the most to her. But now, she realized that holding on to toxic people wasn't worth the emotional toll. It wasn't worth the pain, but this wasn't just about one person. It was about the way the entire show had used her for drama. Amara had been placed in situations where she was expected to react, to fight, to create drama. But behind the scenes, there were moments where the producers pushed certain storylines, forcing her to be someone she wasn't. She had always known that love and hip-hop wasn't an entirely real representation of her life, but over time, it became harder to tell where the show ended and her life began. The lines between reality and performance blurred, and Amara felt like she had lost herself in the process. The final straw came when Amara learned that her close friend had been talking behind her back, feeding the producers false information about her. She was nothing more than a storyline to them, nothing more than an asset in a game they were playing. And for the first time, Amara realized that she was done being manipulated. Her anger was palpable. But there was something else, too, a sense of empowerment. She was no longer the woman who had stayed silent, trying to keep the peace. She was no longer the woman who had let others control her narrative. She was going to take control back. She was going to be the one to decide her own story. As Amara stormed off set after the confrontation, she couldn't help but think about everything that had led her to this point. She had fought so hard. The first to react was none other than her former co-star and supposed friend, who had been the target of Amara's outburst. This co-star had always been seen as the drama queen of the show, someone who thrived on conflict, feeding into the chaos of reality television. But now, Amara's accusations had turned the tables, and the public perception was shifting. "I don't even know where this is coming from," the co-star said during a live interview attempting to defend herself. Amara's just upset because she couldn't control the narrative anymore. She was always the one pretending to be the good girl, but that's not who she really is. If anyone should be mad, it's me. She lied to me too. The dramatic shift in tone from Amara's co-star was immediate. No longer was she playing the victim, as she had in the past. She was now trying to turn the tables, questioning Amara's integrity, claiming that the explosive confrontation was nothing more than a temper tantrum. But Amara wasn't having it. As her interview with a popular talk show host aired, she responded, with her own version of events, unflinching and unwavering in her words. "I'm not here to please anybody. I'm done being the nice girl who takes the backseat to everyone else's lies. The truth is, I've been quiet for too long, trying to protect people who were never on my side. You want to know who the real Amara is? Here I am," she said, with a determined fire in her eyes. The public's reaction to Amara's confession was split. Some fans saw her as a hero, a woman who had finally taken control of her narrative and exposed the ugliness of the reality TV world for what it really was. Others, however, were confused and disappointed, unable to reconcile the confident woman they had adored on screen with the one now calling out her friends. But one thing was certain, Amara had made a bold move. She was no longer just a character on a reality show. She was a force to be reckoned with. And as the fallout from her confession spread, she found herself surrounded by both support and fierce opposition from the very people she had once called friends. As the media storm surrounding Amara intensified, there was one person who remained uncomfortably silent: her former love interest. This cast member, who had shared intimate moments with Amara during their on-screen romance, found himself in the crosshairs of her recent revelations. Amara had not only called out her supposed friends, but also publicly exposed the cracks in their relationship, claiming that he had lied to her about certain matters, and in doing so, had hurt her more than anyone could know. "I trusted him," Amara admitted during one of her interviews, tears welling up in her eyes. "I let him into my life, my heart. But he took that trust and shattered it. I wasn't the one who lied. I wasn't the one who manipulated our relationship for the cameras. But now the truth is out. The ex-love interest, who had been trying to salvage his own public image in the aftermath of Amara's outburst, was left scrambling for answers. He appeared on a popular podcast, attempting to explain himself. People don't understand what really went down. Amara and I, we've had our ups and downs like any couple. But it wasn't like she's making it sound. There were things happening behind the scenes that she didn't know about. Things that she wouldn't understand. And I couldn't tell her because of the show." The tension between the two was undeniable. His attempt to defend himself only fueled the fire of the drama. The deeper Amara dug into her past relationships, the clearer it became that trust was at the heart of everything that had been broken. Her betrayal wasn't just about the lies that had been told on the show. It was about the emotional betrayal that she had suffered at the hands of people she had trusted and loved. For Amara, this wasn't just about clearing her name. It was about taking control of her own narrative, reclaiming her life after years of living in a world dictated by lies, manipulation, and the desire for ratings. She was done being the pawn in someone else's game. And now, she was prepared to expose the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it made her or those around her. Behind the cameras, Amara had begun to see the cost of fame, the way the industry had used her, the way producers had manipulated her persona, forcing her to play into certain stereotypes, all for the sake of ratings. But no more. She was no longer going to be just another character in the drama. She was going to be the woman who exposed the truth, regardless of the consequences. Yet, even as Amara took control, the emotional toll was clear. In private moments, she admitted to those closest to her how much the betrayal had hurt. "I wanted to believe in people. I really did," she confided to a close friend over a quiet dinner. "But the more I uncovered, the more I realized that the people I thought cared about me were only looking out for themselves." Her friend, a former cast member who had known Amara for years, nodded in agreement. "It's hard, Amara. You came into this world with nothing but your talent, and they turned you into a storyline. It's not easy to let go of everything you thought was real." Amara's decision to speak out wasn't just about exposing the lies. It was about reclaiming her truth. She had built a career based on authenticity, but for so long, that authenticity had been manipulated by producers, castmates, and the pressure to create drama. Now, she was shedding that skin and showing the world who she truly was. A woman who had fought through adversity, a woman who refused to be controlled by anyone. As the news of her outburst spread, fans began to rally behind her, with many applauding. Her bravery in standing up against the show's manipulative tendencies? "Finally, someone who isn't afraid to speak the truth," one fan tweeted, gaining thousands of likes and retweets. Amara's the real queen of chocolate HHMIA. But as Amara basked in the support of her growing fan base, the drama was far from over. The fallout from her explosive confession was only beginning, and the truth, as it often does, had a way of complicating everything. As the fallout from Amara La Negra's stunning outburst continued to ripple through the love and hip-hop universe, the drama took an unexpected twist. While fans and critics alike were captivated by her brave stand against the lies and manipulation of the industry, the tension backstage was only growing more intense. Amara's co-stars, once friends and allies, were now at odds with her, some attempting to defend themselves, while others turned their backs completely. The entire cast found themselves caught in a whirlwind of accusations, betrayal, and scandalous revelations. One of the biggest shockwaves came when a close friend of Amara's, who had always been her confidant on the show, suddenly did an exclusive interview with a tabloid, claiming that Amara had exaggerated the truth. We all know Amara loves to play the victim. This is just another one of her stunts to stay relevant, the friend said, their words dripping with disdain. She's always been dramatic, but this is next level. She's trying to make herself the hero of a story she's not even the main character of. The betrayal stung, and Amara was left grappling with the reality that some of the people she had trusted the most were now questioning her integrity. "I thought they were my family," she said, voice shaking with emotion during a late-night interview with her lawyer. "But the moment I exposed the truth, they turned on me. I gave them my loyalty, my love, and they repaid me with lies." The public reaction was fierce. Fans who had once cheered for her were now divided, some calling her brave and empowering, while others accused her of fabricating the drama for attention. The hashtags Nak Amara Truth and Dun LHH Deceit exploded across social media as people picked sides. Amara did what needed to be done. The truth is always worth fighting for. One tweet read, while another claimed, "She's just as fake as the rest of them. Stop pretending to be the victim." The battle for Amara's public image was on, and every move she made was being scrutinized. As the feud between her and her former friends deepened, there was one particular cast member who became a target of Amara's wrath: Love and hip-hop's infamous villain, who had once been an ally and even a close confidant. This individual, known for stirring the pot and feeding into drama, had always been a fan favorite for their unapologetically bold persona. But now, they were standing in the crossfire of Amara's accusations. The tension between the two boiled over during a heated confrontation in front of the cameras. The scene was raw, real, and entirely unexpected. Amara stormed. The cast member, initially taken aback, quickly regained their composure and threw back a sharp retort. "Oh, now you want to be the hero? You think I'm the only one who's been playing games? Look at yourself, Amara. You've always been the one to pretend you're better than everyone else. But the truth is, you're just as messed up as the rest of us." The exchange was electric. Amara's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't back down. "I never asked for this," she shot back. "I never asked to be manipulated, to be used for your drama. But I'm done. I'm done being the pawn in everyone's twisted game." Amara stormed off set, leaving the rest of the cast reeling. The cameras caught her frustration and heartbreak. For the first time, she had truly let go of the facade she had been forced to wear for so long. The game of reality TV had consumed her, but now she was reclaiming her narrative. However, just when it seemed like Amara's life was spiraling out of control, she found an unexpected ally: her family. Amara's mother, who had been silent throughout the ordeal, finally broke her silence in a heart-wrenching moment that played out live. Sitting down with Amara, her voice soft but full of emotion, her mother shared her feelings about the situation. "I don't know why you've been carrying this weight on your own, Mija," her mother said, taking Amara's hands in hers. "You've been strong for so long, but you don't have to fight alone anymore. I see you, and I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. You're not just fighting for you, you're fighting for all the women who've been silenced." Mordine welled up in Amara's eyes as she listened to her mother's words. The validation and support she had longed for from the very people she trusted were now being given to her freely. For the first time in months, she felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps she could navigate this storm after all. But the family drama didn't stop there. Amara's sister, who had always been by her side, was now stepping up in a very public way. She took to social media to stand by her sister, posting a powerful message that resonated with fans. Amara has always been real, always. People are trying to tear her down because they're scared of her strength. But the truth is on her side, and I'm here for it. I'm here for her. As Amara's family rallied behind her, her enemies tried to make one last stand. The producers of Love and Hip Hop began to manipulate the narrative even further, attempting to turn the tide of public opinion against Amara. They fed rumors to the press, calling her unstable and difficult to work with. The media, always hungry for the next scandal, latched onto the story, and the drama intensified. In one particularly tense moment, Amara sat down with an interviewer who attempted to bait her into a defensive position. "Don't you think you've just made things worse by airing everything out in public?" the interviewer asked, a sly grin on their face. "You've exposed so much dirty laundry. Isn't that just going to hurt your career?" Amara, sitting tall and confident, looked directly into the camera. "No, What's going to hurt my career is lying to my fans, lying to the people who trust me. I'm not here for the drama, I'm here to tell the truth. And if the truth costs me, then so be it. I won't be part of a system that's built on lies anymore. Her response was met with silence, a silence that spoke volumes. Amara wasn't just playing the game anymore, she had quit the game. She had chosen authenticity over manipulation, truth over lies. And that made her more powerful than anything else. Back on set, the rest of the cast felt the pressure mounting. The producers, who had once orchestrated the drama and fueled the conflict between Amara and her co-stars, were now scrambling to contain the fallout. But there was no containing Amara anymore. She had taken the reins of her own narrative, and nothing could stop her from speaking her truth. The drama wasn't over, but one thing was clear. Amara La Negra had just become the most powerful person in the room. As the weeks went by, the ripple effect of Amara La Negra's bold stance was felt. Across love and hip-hop and beyond, her decision to expose the lies and manipulations that had been a constant part of her reality was a game changer. Not just for her, but for the entire world of reality TV. What started as a personal battle to reclaim her narrative had now turned into an all-out war. A war where everyone involved was forced to pick sides. For Amara, the road ahead was both liberating and challenging. She was no longer the same woman who had stepped into the spotlight years ago, eager to make her mark. She was stronger now, more determined to be herself, and no longer willing to hide behind the drama that had defined so much of her journey. But the price of her honesty was high. The relationships she had built with some of her co-stars, people she had once called family, were now shattered. Her most recent confrontation with her former friend had left emotional scars, but Amara knew that it was necessary. "You can't change the past," she said quietly one evening to a close confidant, "but I can control how I move forward. I have to. I'm done with the lies. And if that means I have to walk away from people who don't support me, then so be it." The public's perception of her was slowly changing. Her supporters, those who had always admired her for her raw authenticity, were cheering her on. But the backlash was just as fierce. Many of her co-stars were now calling her difficult, unprofessional, and even ungrateful. But Amara wasn't bothered by the criticism. In fact, it only fueled her resolve. "People want me to apologize for standing up for myself," she said in an exclusive interview with a major magazine. "But why should I? Why should I apologize for telling the truth? I've spent years being manipulated by the system, by people who only wanted me for what I could give them. I'm not going to apologize for taking control of my own story." However, it wasn't just the cast of Love and Hip Hop that was turning on her. The producers, who had once built their show around her and the drama she brought, were now scrambling to manage the fallout. Ratings, which had been on the rise with Amara's explosive moments on the show, were starting to decline. The fans, it seemed, were split, half standing with Amara, the other half criticizing her for rocking the boat. The executives behind the show were nervous. They knew that Amara was one of the show's biggest stars, and if they couldn't find a way to rein her in, the entire show might lose its core audience. "We have to bring her back in," one producer said during a secret meeting. "She's the one that pulls people in. But we can't let her go off script like this. It's bad for business." But Amara was no longer someone they could control. Her newfound sense of empowerment made her a force to be reckoned with. It wasn't about the fame, the money, or the drama anymore. It was about reclaiming her identity, about standing tall, in a world that had been built on lies. She wasn't going to let anyone, including the producers, tell her who she was anymore. As her emotional strength grew, Amara began to reconnect with her roots. She took time off from the show to focus on her music career, which had always been her first love. The pressures of reality TV had often overshadowed her musical aspirations. But now, with the drama behind her, Amara was ready to reclaim the spotlight as an artist. "I've always been about authenticity," she explained in a candid interview. "And I'm ready to show the world what I can do with my music. I've always had more to offer than just reality TV drama. I have a voice." Her decision to step away from the show didn't sit well with some of her co-stars, who were still riding high off the drama and attention it brought. One in particular, who had always been the one to stir the pot on Love and Hip Hop, was furious at Amara's departure. "She thinks she's better than us," the co-star ranted on a live stream in front of thousands of viewers. "She thinks she's too good for the show now. Well, let's see if anyone cares about her once she's Gone. Amara's response was swift and sharp. I'm not better than anyone, but I'm not going to stay in a toxic environment just to make people happy. If my leaving makes some people mad, then maybe they need to look at themselves. I'm doing this for me, not for the ratings, not for the drama, just for me. Her words were a direct hit. And while some of her former castmates continued to lash out at her, others quietly supported her decision, realizing that Amara was no longer the puppet they could control. She had taken back her narrative, and in doing so, she had become a warm symbol of empowerment for women in the entertainment industry, especially those in reality television who had been forced to play roles they didn't choose. Behind the scenes, Amara's family was still reeling from the impact of her revelations. They had always been her rock, but now, even they were questioning the toll this had taken on their relationship. Her mother, who had watched her daughter go through the highs and lows of fame, had been supportive but worried. Amara, are you sure this is the way to go? Her mother had asked during a heartfelt conversation. I know you've been hurt, and I know you want to be real. But this is a tough world, Mija. People are not going to forget what happened. They'll remember the drama, the lies. I know, Mama, Amara had replied, her voice steady despite the pain. But I've lived in the shadows of lies for too long. I can't do it anymore. I have to be real, for myself and for my future. Despite the lingering doubts, her family ultimately stood by her. They saw the pain she had endured, the constant manipulation, and the toll it had taken on her emotionally. And while they didn't always agree with the way she handled things, they supported her decision to stand up for herself. It wasn't just the public that had turned on her. It was the reality TV machine itself. Love and Hip Hop was a show built on chaos, drama, and carefully curated narratives. But Amara La Negra had defied that script, choosing authenticity over exploitation. In doing so, she had risked her career, but she had also found a new sense of freedom. With her music gaining more attention and her true self finally shining through, Amara felt more powerful than ever. She was no longer just a reality TV star. She was an artist, a woman reclaiming her story. And while the drama surrounding her was far from over, Amara knew one thing for sure. She would never be silenced again. As the weeks rolled by, Amara La Negra's life began to take a turn that no one, not even she, could have predicted. The chaos surrounding her public outburst had settled into a new kind of peace, albeit a fragile one. While the drama had subsided, the scars of betrayal were still fresh. Amara's departure from Love and Hip Hop had created a stir, but now it was time to focus on the future. With a new sense of clarity and purpose, she turned her attention back to her music career, the one thing she had always dreamed of before the world of reality TV came knocking. However, the road to reclaiming her life wasn't without its challenges. The media, always hungry for the next scandal, couldn't seem to let go of the drama. Headlines like Amara La Negra, music career or reality TV drama queen, and Amara finally quits the drama, but can she still win over her fans, were plastered across every entertainment site. The question lingered in the air. Could she truly transition from reality TV star to music icon? Amara didn't care. She had made it clear in countless interviews that music was her passion, and now was her time to shine. With the release of her new single, Mi Verdadera Cara, Amara laid her soul bare, pouring every ounce of emotion into the track. It wasn't just a song, it was a declaration. A declaration that she was more than the drama, more than the stereotypes, more than the lies that had once defined her public persona. The release was a huge moment. The song quickly gained traction, hitting the top of the charts in Latin music. Fans who had once been skeptical of her authenticity were now rallying behind her. "This is the real Amara," one fan tweeted. "She's a queen, and it's about time the world sees it." The support from her fans was overwhelming. And with each passing day, it seemed like Amara's music career was taking off at a pace she had only dreamed of before. But even as her music blossomed, the tension between Amara and her former castmates remained. They had watched as she rose to the top, and some of them couldn't handle it. The jealousy, the backhanded comments, and the subtle attempts to undermine her success were all too familiar. One former co-star, who had always been seen as the bad girl of the show, took to social media to post a cryptic message. "Not everyone who claims to be real is telling the truth. Don't let the spotlight fool you." While the comment was vague, it was clear who it was aimed at. Amara was no longer the soft-spoken star trying to make peace in the chaos. She was a force, and some of her former friends weren't happy about it. Amara, however, had learned long ago not to be dragged into the drama. In a live Instagram video, she addressed her detractors with the confidence of someone who had nothing left to prove. "I don't need to explain myself to anyone," she said, her voice calm but unwavering. "I've been through too much to let anyone bring me down. I'm here to make music. I'm here to empower women. If that makes you uncomfortable, that's on you, not me." The live video quickly went viral, gaining thousands of views in just a few hours. Fans were quick to show their support, flooding her comments with words of encouragement. "You're an inspiration, Amara," one comment read. "Keep doing your thing. Real queens don't need validation from anyone." But while Amara was gaining strength and confidence in her career, the personal toll of the love and hip-hop drama was still weighing on her. The lies, the betrayal, and the broken friendships were harder to move past than she cared to admit. It wasn't just about the fame or the drama, it was about trust. And trust, once broken, was something that Amara wasn't sure she could ever rebuild. In private, Amara had moments of doubt. She would sit in her room, scrolling through old photos and messages, wondering if things could have. The response was brief, but Amara knew she had made the right choice. It was time to stop letting the past dictate her future. She was done with the lies, done with the manipulations, and done with anyone who didn't have her best interests at heart. The journey ahead was hers, and no one was going to take that away from her. As the final chapter of Amara La Negra's reality TV saga came to a close, a new story began to unfold. A story of a woman who refused to be silenced, who reclaimed her voice and her power. The drama of the past was behind her, and with her music career now in full swing, there was no telling how far she could go. But one thing was for sure, Amara La Negra was not going to let anyone define her. She was ready to write the next chapter on her own terms. As Amara La Negra moves forward, her journey is far from over. She has shown the world that no matter how deep the betrayal or how heavy the lies, it's possible to rise above it all and reclaim your narrative. From reality TV star to empowered artist, Amara's transformation has been nothing short of inspiring. She's proven that taking control of your story, no matter the cost, is the true definition of strength. The road she's traveled hasn't been easy, filled with broken relationships, betrayal from those she trusted, and the weight of public judgment. Yet through it all, Amara has come out on top, and her music career is just beginning to shine brighter than ever. The drama may have faded, but the lessons learned, the strength found, and the true Amara La Negra is here to stay. So what's next for Amara? Can she leave the drama of the past behind, or will the shadows of her reality TV days continue to follow her? And will her career continue to soar, or will the past come back to haunt her? Only time will tell. We want to hear what you think. Is Amara's decision to speak out the start of something new, or did she risk it all for a fleeting moment of truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more insider stories. From the world of entertainment, we'll be bringing you the latest updates on all your favorite stars, so stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next.